Good morning, afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, on this wonderful Wednesday for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update. And as always, we've got a hell of a lot to get into. There's always a lot to get into in the cryptocurrency space. It's never been a better time to be here right now in this moment. This industry is fundamentally going to change the world, and we're on the cusp of that, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget that the sentiment has been pretty bad. We've been trying to pull people through it as much as possible. Some people we've just left because there's no saving them. But if you ultimately understand that fundamentally this technology is going to entirely revolutionize, and Trump said that himself last week, the entire financial system, and actually more broadly than that, systems generally. So that you could apply that to healthcare, you could apply that to voting, you could apply that to supply chains, you could apply that to education, you could apply that to AI, technology generally, not just finance. It's a very bright future that we have ahead of us. But we got a lot to get into. We're going to kick things off with what Trump signed an executive order on yesterday. And that was an executive order that enables the US Treasury to modernize its payment systems. I wonder how they're going to do that. Then we had huge news that Ripple settles with the SEC and has agreed on a $50 million fine, and the appeals have now been dropped. Brad Garlinghouse last week told us the case was over. People were questioning that. I said, look, if Brad's saying this, it's over, guys. He can't come out and lie, essentially. And they've now came to an agreement that was probably already known about. And it has huge ramifications because it means Ripple can now actually sell. Apologies for that, guys. It means that Ripple can actually sell XRP to institutions. And then what you just heard perhaps a little bit of was Chris, the founder of Crypto.com. He also spoke and forecasted about the XRP ETF and how it's going to attract $8 billion. That's round about where JP Morgan have it. Fidelity have also now entered the stablecoin race. Then we've got news in regards to the new SEC chair, Paul Atkins, disclosing crypto investments. Who'd have thought? And then we've got some price action and technical analysis to get into, guys. So as always, jam-packed one. If you're not already a subscriber, what are you doing? Become a subscriber today to one of the fastest growing, and I personally believe one of the best crypto channels that there are on the web. Let's kick things off with what Trump signed an executive order on just yesterday. And this is essentially an executive order to enable the US Treasury to update its payment system. So let's go ahead and play this.
An executive order for your attention relating actually to government payments. Historically, checks issued by the Treasury are, I believe, 14 times more likely to become the subject of fraud than electronic transfer payments. This is an executive order that's going to push the Treasury Department to modernize its payment system to ensure that where possible they're using electronic methods of payment as opposed to paper checks in order to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, which is obviously an endeavor that we've been pursuing in numerous aspects of government under your leadership.
It's basically modernization of equipment and methods, and it's something that really I think he's going to be a great Secretary of the Treasury wanted, Scott, and so we're doing this, and we have other modernization programs going on. We could let somebody else, whoever's next, whoever that may be, do it, but it's something that should have been done 25, 30 years ago. Okay.
And I wonder how they're going to do that. First of all, getting it digital. And then actually you can use a blockchain for so many things. You are going to see governments globally, all of them, adopt blockchain technology in the same way that they've adopted the internet. Simples. And anybody seen the Go Compare advert will know what I'm talking about there. Shout out to the meerkats. I think that's Go Compare. Like I say, and I want to reiterate what I said at the start of the video, despite sentiment, and retail is typically always wrong as a collective. And when you look at what sentiment was reflecting, sentiment being that low, just like consumer confidence in regards to economic data, can often signal the exact opposite. You want to be buying when others are fearful, and fearful when others are buying, essentially, or expressing sort of euphoria. And markets top on euphoria, they don't top on depression. We'll get as many people through this as we humanly possibly can. We're not going to get everything right, but once this pullback has been proven to be just that, the good news is we've got rid of a lot of dead weight. Let's talk about what was unbelievably huge, not just for Ripple, Brad and Chris, and of course the XRP community, of which I'm a member of, a proud member of, but for the cryptocurrency space at all. Ripple settled with the SEC a $50 million fine, and appeal has now been dropped. So Ripple Labs has successfully reached a settlement with the US SEC, agreeing to pay a reduction in their fine to $50 million. So this was previously $125 million. Both parties have decided to drop their respective appeals, effectively concluding the long-standing legal dispute. The SEC will retain $50 million of its original imposed $125 million fine, while the rest will be returned to Ripple from escrow. Interesting. Additionally, the SEC plans to ask the court to lift the previous injunction placed on Ripple, allowing companies to proceed with businesses, including sales of institutional investors. And here we have it, guys. This is from Stuart Aldultry himself. The final crossing of T's and dotting of I's, and what should be the last update on the SEC versus Ripple ever. Last week, the SEC agreed to drop the appeal without conditions. This is what Brad was talking about, people questioning this. Ripple has now agreed to drop its cross appeal. The SEC will keep $50 million of the $125 million fine, already in the interest-bearing escrow in cash, with the balance returned to Ripple. The agency will also ask the court to lift the standard injunction that was imposed earlier at the SEC's request, all subject to commission vote, drafting of final documents, and usual court proceedings. That's all, folks. So this has given the Ripple company the green light for them to actually now go and use and utilize XRP, and institutions do the same thing. And we are going to see that, and we're going to see a wave of it. Let's look at what the founder, Chris, of Crypto.com, which have partnered with Trump's social media, is it? Or TrumpFi? I can't remember actually what it's called. They partnered with them to launch ETFs. Chris actually spoke just yesterday on how well he thinks an XRP ETF is going to do. We saw a filing from Fidelity in regards to Solana ETFs. You're going to see BlackRock, mark my words on this, file both Solana, XRP, crypto basket ETFs, etc., etc. And that's coming, and that's going to be a real catalyst. And the markets are technically positioned to see that all come to fruition. Why I get my confident when I step out in these markets and I give the predictions that I give, that comes from understanding the charts. I don't care what people say. And I don't care when people are bearish when the price is going down, because this is short term. We're long term. Let's listen to what Chris had to say over at Crypto.com.
Of years, I think altcoins that have strong flows will outperform. I don't know if you guys seen this, but there's a forecast saying that the ETF for XRP is going to attract 8 billion of inflows next year. So you can imagine what kind of impact that may have. And in terms of what we're doing, I think we have a very clear, differentiated, exciting strategy that nobody else is pursuing and nobody else can compete with us on. That's very unique.
So we'll leave that there. I mean, we're on the cusp of something monumental, guys. Don't forget that. Talking about $8 billion in inflows for XRP. Right now, I think the BTC ETFs in the US collectively have, 36 billion in them. Talking about sort of stablecoins in the future of finance, Fidelity, and stablecoins are the evolution of money, by the way, guys. Fidelity enters crypto market with stablecoin development. Fidelity Investment, managing assets over $6 trillion, is actively deploying its own stablecoin. The initiative, which is in advanced testing stages, aims to integrate with the firm's up-and-coming blockchain-based US money market fund, signaling a significant move by traditional finance into the realms of digital assets. This step by Fidelity could enhance the credibility of adoption of cryptocurrencies by providing a stablecoin linked directly to conventional financial systems. This is huge. Fidelity are really one of the big ones, guys. We've got some news in regards to Paul Atkins, who is the SEC chair nominee. He's disclosed $327 million in assets ahead of confirmation hearing scheduled on March the 27th. What date are we on at the moment? Is that tomorrow? Yeah, that's tomorrow. with up to 6 million in crypto investments. Interesting. Atkins held a board seat on Securitize up until February and owns up to 500k in call options. Interesting. He also holds equity in Anchorage Digital and a 1 to 5 million stake in off-the-chain capital. Let's finish things off with a little bit of price action. You all know the plan for Bitcoin, and it hasn't changed. Despite the adversary that we faced in regards to calling continuation with this bull market, we will get there. And this will just be another pullback, of which we've had many. The S&P obviously is going to have to permit that. We are so much more bullish on Trumponomics than most people are. Orange juice plummeting yesterday, eggs down. They're going to bring oil down. They're going to encourage economic growth through reducing costs for everybody. And I think we're on the cusp of that. That's just my own opinion. You can tell me we're wrong once we've been wrong. But the charts look great. They truly do. And when it comes to the total market caps, they just ran into all-time highs and pulled back. And that's all they've done. And you're about to see them picking their feet up and seeing real broad continuation, in my opinion. So hang in there, guys. Do not fear. Allincrypto is here. That is really it from me, ladies and gentlemen. This is a jam-packed one. Lots of news to cover. So many amazing things are taking place. You've got to be in it to win it. If you want to take your step further, right now is when you want to be picking those winning positions. And despite this pullback, even at the peak of it, we still had cryptos that were hundreds of percents up. You know, nearly 80% of my portfolio was still hundreds of percents up at the peak of the pullback. And that's because I believe we're in the right place. You'll unlock them when you become a Patreon. We also talk about quite a few of them here on the channel on a regular basis. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll see you on the flip side.